Okay, well, it's 12 o'clock and we've got a lot of information to cover. So, Vartan, I'm just going to turn the time over to you. He is our representative with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He's the regional representative handling, what, 5 states? Is that correct?
Yep, 5 states. Yeah, I have California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and Hawaii.
Perfect. So we're going to turn the time over to you. After the call and after we get done with Q&A, we've got a few things we'll talk about with the Business Resource Center, and Christina and I will just talk a little bit more about some initiatives that we have started and are working on since yesterday. All right, let's go for it.
Great. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Christina. Christina and Josh have just been tremendous partners for the U.S. Chamber. We really appreciate all the work that you do in American Fork. And I try to get out and visit both of them whenever I come out to Utah. And I'm out there about every few months or so. Unfortunately, I've been grounded, obviously, for the last couple months, which is a little weird because I'm usually on the road about once a week, and we're in D.C. every 6 weeks. So it's really a different time. Just like you all, we're doing a lot of these Zoom calls and Skype calls to let our business community know what's happening on the federal level to deal with coronavirus and the coronavirus-related shutdowns. Our main focus at the U.S. Chamber has been to make sure that small businesses are not harmed, that they're not going bankrupt, that families and individuals are not going bankrupt as a result of this virus. And that's because all this is happening through no fault of anybody. This is not the fault of business owners. It's not the fault of employees. So what our goal right now is to create a bridge during this period right now where all these shutdowns are taking place to the eventual point where we can go back and continue our businesses. Because gosh, back in January, if you think back, our unemployment level was the lowest in our recent history, in many of our lifetimes. The economic growth was at 3%, and suddenly everything's come to a standstill. And so we've been working on the federal level to get some help to small businesses and to individuals to make sure that there's, like I said, that bridge to get us to the other side of this. And what I'm going to do right now is to briefly, in about 10-15 minutes, go over some of the programs that are available to us to get through this period. And I really, really hope that the small businesses and the individuals listening to this conversation right now take advantage of these many programs, because these are unprecedented, and they're going to try to implement them as quickly and as easily as possible. So I'm going to share my screen here. If you can see my PowerPoint that's up right now.
Yeah, looks good.
On Friday, the president signed the Federal CARES Act, which was the phase 4 of the relief efforts by Congress and the White House to start getting some aid to the small businesses and to the individuals in our country. This is a monumental piece of legislation. Let's see. Which, and I'll go over an overview real quick. It's a $2 trillion package. That's the phase 3 of the stimulus package. And it, like I said, it helps individuals and it also helps small businesses. So in terms of the individuals, if you'll see, pretty much everybody in our country is eligible to receive $1,200 per individual and $2,400 for joint filers in support. And this check is supposed to come within a matter of weeks here. You also are eligible to receive $500 per child. This starts to phase out at 70. If you make $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a couple, you'll receive less support, and it goes up to, you can make up to $200,000 as a couple, and you'll continue to receive some form of support in this way. This package also includes expanded unemployment. So in addition to the unemployment that your state is offering, if you're unemployed as a result of the coronavirus, you're entitled to $600 per week on top of that regular state unemployment. Now, we want to encourage everybody to go back to work. So as soon as, of course, you start working again, or you have the ability to work, if your employer calls you back, then that unemployment benefit would end. And these benefits would be provided through your state unemployment insurance department. Now, in terms of aid for small businesses, again, this is an unprecedented level of support that they're going to be providing. As part of that $2 trillion package, Congress approved $350 billion in small loans, in small business loans for businesses that have less than 500 employees, or if they're 501c3s, or if they're sole proprietors and independent contractors. Now, the way they'll tabulate the amount for your loan would be if you calculated 2.5 months of your average payroll. So over the last year, you would look at how much you spent in payroll and divide that by 12, and you would be entitled to 2.5 times that amount. The loans would be provided, usually these types of loans are provided through the Small Business Administration. And I know most folks have never gotten a loan from SBA, so they don't even know how this process works. You usually have to go through their SBA website, visit the local SBA office. But because the federal government is so committed to turning this problem around right away, what they're going to do is they're going to say you can go to a bank that typically provides these SBA loans. So that these are called 7A banks, and they're banks that usually handle SBA loans. However, since the SBA and since the federal government wants to get these loans out as quickly as possible, they're going to expand the number of banks that will be participating in this program. Our goal at the U.S. Chamber is to essentially have these these loans available to small businesses at virtually every bank that you do your small business checking at. So you should be able to, ideally, they're saying these loans are going to be available this Friday. We would hope that you would be able to go to the bank, get the loan on Friday, and start paying your employees on Monday. We want this to happen as quickly as possible. Of course, this hasn't been implemented yet, but that's our vision, and that's what we're pressing the government to do. The most important part, however, of these SBA loans is that if you spend the money on payroll, on rent, or your mortgage interest and utilities for a 2-month period beginning the day that you initiate the loan, you will have the loan forgiven, 100% forgiven, if you use it for those purposes that I just explained. Rent, utilities, and payroll. So this should be able to provide enough resources for small businesses to be able to function for the next couple of years. It'll also make sure that your employees will continue to remain tied to your business as we experience this downturn right now. And our hope is that once we come out on the other side of this, you will have your employees, you'll continue to have that relationship with them because they'll be on your payroll. And by the way, when you're calculating your monthly average payroll, you would include benefits in there as well, like healthcare or 401k or whatever other benefits that you provide for your employees. So this is a big deal. And it is a lifeline to a lot of businesses that have come to a complete standstill right now. And hopefully it'll give you the cash flow to be able to continue to operate as much as you can, sometimes remotely. But if not, it'll allow you to continue your relationships with your employees so that once we come out of this, that again, they'll continue to be attached to your company. Now, I said contractors are also eligible for this as well. So if you're an independent contractor, and you get, a 1099, you would do the same process. You would take whatever money you earn over a 12-month period, divide it by 12, and be able to pay yourself 2.5 months worth of that, worth of that payroll expense for the next 2 months. And people ask me, so what happens beyond the 2 months? And I think the federal government, what right now they're saying is, let's take it one step at a time. Let's see where we are in 2 months, and then we'll revisit this if we have to. But for the time being, they're looking at a 2-month window starting the day you originate your loan. Now, if you want to learn more about this loan program, and again, we're calling it a loan program, but it's essentially a grant. If you use this money, like I said, for payroll, for rent or mortgage interest, and for utilities, this is going to convert into a grant because your loan will be forgiven. So if you want more information about this, we have a really handy 3-4 page guide that we submitted on this. You can find that at uschamber.com/SB loans. And I see a lot of, material on this issue, on these loans that are coming out. But I tell you this, the document that we put together at the U.S. Chamber has got to be the most circulated one. I just saw Mark Cuban just retweeted it because it's been such a helpful guide. So I really encourage you, if you're a small business or you're an independent contractor, please go to this website, look at this guide. And although the loans are not available right now, there are things that you could be doing. For instance, please start calculating what that average monthly payroll is for your company. You want to have that information at your fingertips. So the minute they switch these loans on, you want to be able to go to the bank and request that money right away. There are some other loans that are available, like they call these the EIDL loans, the Small Business Administration Economic Injury Disaster loans, and these are popular loans as well. But you're not going to get the same degree of forgiveness with these EIDL loans as you would have with the previous loans that I described, which are called the Paycheck Protection loans. The Paycheck Protection Program. So if you go to your bank and you want to ask for that loan that I said that would be forgiven, you want to ask them for the Payment Protection Program. They might mention these EIDL loans to you as well, and these are important too. It's for any time there's some kind of disaster, you're eligible to receive up to $2 million in working capital for a 30-year term loan at a reasonable percentage, 3.75%. Once you apply for this EIDL loan, they will cut you a check pretty quickly for $10,000. And whether or not you're approved for the full loan amount, they will allow you to keep that $10,000 grant. The loan will turn into a grant. However, if you also apply for the Paycheck Protection Program and you get approved for that loan, you will have to deduct the $10,000 grant from that forgiveness that you would get to the other that you would get from the Paycheck Protection Program. You can apply for both, but you can't apply the two pots of loans for the same programs. Like you can't get a Paycheck Protection loan and then get an EIDL loan and pay your payroll with the EIDL loan if you're already getting the Paycheck Protection Program. You have to use it for two different activities.
So you're talking about paycheck protection that'll be used to pay employees. You can use the SBA loan to pay for utilities, rent, things like that.
No, the Paycheck Protection you can also use for utilities and rent. But these EIDL loans are more for working capital for your business, like if they're cost of goods or what have you as a result of the disaster, you would be able to use that money for those purposes. You can also use the EIDL loan for payroll, but that would preclude you from using the Paycheck Protection Program for payroll. And depending on your situation, you might get more money by doing the Paycheck Protection Program. I can't advise you on on which program is right for you, you're going to kind of have to look introspectively at your business to see what would work. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but paid sick leave was also part of the CARES Act that passed. The federal government will essentially pay for the paid sick leave that that states are sometimes responsible for, or individual businesses. You should look at that as well. Paid FMLA. This is something that was in the phase 2 bill. Employers with less than 500 employees are required to provide 10 weeks of FMLA. But through this program, you would be able to continue to get paid at a regular pay at a maximum of, you get two-thirds regular pay at a maximum of $200 a day, and $10,000 for the full period. So again, if you want more information on this, you go to uschamber.com. You can, for the small business loans, you go to uschamber.com SB loans. And then we've got more information for small businesses at uschamber.com/co. I know I went through a lot of information there, but I'm happy to go back and answer any questions that you might have on it.
So we do have a question from Kelly. They're wondering that the Paycheck Protection Program says compensation of an individual employee in excess of an annual salary of $100,000 is excluded.
Right.
Does that mean that employees' entire salary, or just the amount in excess of $100,000?
So you can include the employee's salary for up to $100,000. So when you're calculating your 2.5 month average payroll, and you have an employee that you pay $150,000 a year, when you're calculating that payroll amount, you only go up to $100,000, and that's where it's capped.
Very good. So I think we've given everyone the ability to unmute themselves. You can either unmute and ask a question, or if you want, you can type a question in the comments. So,
and Josh, before we begin, I will say I can't answer individual questions about your particular business. That's something that you have to think about, and something you have to talk to your lender about. But I'm happy to answer any questions that are related to the policy.
So the next question came in from Dave. What if my bank doesn't offer SBA loans?
Okay, so as I mentioned, not every bank offers SBA loans, but Treasury is working very hard to make sure that these loans are available as widely as possible, and we're really pushing for that. So even though your bank might not be a traditional SBA lender, you'd be surprised that many banks will be jumping onto this program. So if I were in your situation, I would check with my bank. And because this program is so new, because this program is so new, it was signed into law on Friday and it passed the House on Friday. A lot of banks are not even aware of this program. The management might be, but if you just call the person who answers the phone, the receptionist, they might not be aware of this program right now. So you have to really dig in, talk to the right people, and wait for the information to come out. The Treasury Department is supposed to send their guidance out on this any day now. So the banks more and more will be familiar with it.
Okay. The next question is from Adam Rasmussen. Are there revenue or loss restrictions associated with getting this? Either the PPP loan or the SBA loan?
So the SBA loan, it's limited to folks who have fewer than 500 employees. It's limited to folks who have had, you would have to attest that your business has somehow been impacted by the coronavirus or related shutdowns. And the most amount of money that you can apply for a loan for this program is $10 million. So that's the cap. But right. There isn't a revenue cap. So if you're making such, a certain amount of money, that it won't cap you, but you will be capped at the amount of money that you can apply for a loan.
Correct. But the attestation for saying that, there's, a loss or whatever due to COVID, is there any guidelines on that of exactly what that means, or you're just attesting to that fact?
Well, you're going to attest to that the thumbnail sketch of the program says that that's that's the main attestation you have to make. But like I said, the Treasury Department has not released their guidelines to further expand on that at this point. So I can't really talk to that beyond what I said, that you need to attest to the fact that your business has somehow been harmed by COVID.
So would you say that it's better to apply for the loan, and as more information comes out, there'll be better understanding, or start the process? Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah. So what I would say is look at your business right now, do all those calculations, figure out how much you're paying in rent, figure out how much you're paying in mortgage interest, your utilities, figure out how much you're paying in payroll. Have all of those calculations ready so that the minute that they switch this on, that you're ready with all your information. The Department of Treasury wants to get this money out as quickly as possible. So you might be able to get approved for this within 24, 48, 72 hours. So you don't want to be delayed by this gathering the information process on your end. You want to have all your ducks in a row. So the minute that it becomes available, you can hit the ground running. Again, though, you said, should you start applying for this right away? You can't apply for it right now. The application is not even out. So it looks like it's going to come out Friday. It might come out before that, but right now the Department of Treasury is saying they want it out by Friday. So you have a runway for the next few days now to get all your ducks in a row, so that the minute the applications are available at your bank, you can get your paperwork in.
And just so everyone's aware, we had a call with Val Hale. He's the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Development here in Utah. So Utah has rolled out a small business loan program as well. You can get up to $20,000, between $5,000 and $20,000, or up to 3 months payroll based on your needs. That opened up this morning at 8 a.m. And you can find those links on the Chamber website. We actually have all the links and documents available on our website from the U.S. Chamber as well. But we've got a lot of questions coming in, so we'll just keep coming. Rod actually says he just got off the phone with the SBA. Said they've streamlined the whole process. So if you go to COVID-19 relief at sba.com or .gov, he said it's a 5-minute application. We have a question about, how about new employees?
So what they're looking at right now is that you can drop your employee count by 25% over the past since this started. But if it goes beyond, if you drop below 25%, then your loan will be reduced by whatever amount that your employee count dropped. But in terms of the amount of the loan that you'll get it based on the average monthly payroll of the last year.
So just to clarify then, if let's say I've had 20 employees for however long, and I've just laid off 6 of them, so I'm at 14 employees. Does that mean I might disqualify myself from getting that PPP loan turned into a grant?
No, absolutely not, because it's based on your past average. So the minute that the minute that you get this loan, you should be able to rehire everybody back.
Gotcha. We have a question about, under CARES program, you get payroll tax credit for up to 50% of qualifying wages. Does this affect the PPP or EIDL loan?
Yes, you can only get one of them. So if you get the PPP program, then you would not be able to get that tax benefit.
Okay. We have a question from Greg. It says, my company is headquartered in the United Kingdom, but we're also incorporated in the U.S. We have 4 employees in the U.S. Will I be able to access the Paycheck Protection Program for my 4 U.S.-based employees?
Yeah, the employees would have to have their primary residence in the United States.
Okay, so as long as they work in the United States, then your company qualifies to be able to apply for this program?
Yeah, if they're incorporated in the United States, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. But again, every business has to check. But generally, if you've got a business based in the United States, or that's incorporated in the United States, you should be eligible for this program. Because look, you have to think of what the spirit of this law is. It's to get money back in the hands of businesses in the United States and in residents of the United States. They want to be able to have folks who can bridge this period, and then when we come out on the other side, we'll also be able to have money to go spend.
Okay, yeah, obviously that we're trying to curb the effects on the economy as quickly as possible, right?
Exactly.
So under CARES, a question from Marvin again. It says it will increase unemployment by $600 per week for up to 4 months and extends unemployment an additional 13 weeks. Are those the same things? Is the 4 months and the 13 weeks the same time frame?
Yes, I believe so. I can double check on that, but yes.
Okay. And again, Rob just got a phone with the SBA. You can email them COVID-19relief@sba.gov. It's well,
New site.
is that a site? I think that's an email address. So maybe, Rod, if we got the website as well, we can put that in. Do hosting services count as utilities?
That should be able to count. Check with your lender, but I don't see why not.
Okay. From Kelly, for the amount of forgiveness, the document gives an example of reduction based on reduction of number of employees, and the other is reduction based on reduction in salaries. Will both be used, or one or the other?
I think both would apply.
All right, so if I'm a CFO and my salary goes from 50 to 40, and then we've got 10 employees that we're paying for, you count all of that, right?
Right.
Okay. This is from Groove Fishing. I know that payroll, utilities, rent are going to be forgivable, but is the calculation of 2.5 times the average payroll, or is it 2.5 times the average payroll, utilities, and rent?
It's just payroll. But within payroll, you include benefits as well, like healthcare.
Gotcha. Hey, Christina, do you want to go ahead?
Because Josh?
Yeah.
So once you calculate that 2.5 months, what you do is you're only supposed to pay your employees for 2 months with that money. So for that additional half month, that's where you would pay for your additional expenses like utilities, rent, and that type of thing. And that would also be, like I said, eligible for forgiveness.
Gotcha. Okay. Christina, why don't you hop on with some of these questions?
Okay. So the next question is from Marvin. Can you apply for both a PPP and EIDL loan, or only one?
You can apply for both, but you have to use that money for separate issues, right? So you can't use the EIDL loan for payroll, keep that $10,000, and then get PPP and have all of that forgiven. You would have to pick what you want it for.
Okay, Dave says, we hired several new employees in January. Do you calculate the last year's payroll based on calendar 2019 or last 12 months?
It sounds like it's calendar.
Calendar, okay.
I'm sorry, 12 months.
A rolling 12 months?
Yeah, 12 months.
Okay, all right, okay. The term covered utility payment means payment for a service for the distribution of electricity, gas, water, transportation, telephone, or internet access, for which service began for February 15th, 2020. So I think he's just clarifying that.
Yeah.
Then Rod says that is a website. No, go ahead.
In terms of that February 15th date, they want to make sure that, all small businesses that are applying for this PPP program were in existence before coronavirus. So you can't suddenly come up with a business today and apply for these payroll protection program loans. You need to they want to make sure that you've actually been in business previously.
Okay, here's a good question from Greg. If salary is $100,000, but benefits, healthcare, and pension equal another $20,000, is the PPP loan capped at only the $100K, or will the total amount of $120K be eligible? So is it payroll or compensation?
It's compensate. It's the whole nut. So it'd be the 100,000.
Okay, so the $20,000 that they pay for healthcare, pension, not covered.
It would not be covered.
Okay, so only payroll, only actual payroll. Okay, and then Rod says you can also access the application here, and he gives a little link. I don't know if anybody can see all of these, but we can send that out if people want it. If everybody else can't see the comments, we'll send that out. And I think that's all the questions.
So Vartan,
We do have those. So the document, Vartan, that you said, the 4-pager that the U.S. Chamber put out, we emailed that out to everybody.
Oh,
And
good.
we also have that on our social media. We turned it into JPEGs and it's on our social media. So if anybody wants to see that, they can also go there.
Again, I'm a little biased, but I've seen a lot of the documents out there, and I feel like ours is by far the most comprehensive.
It is. It's really good. It's really easy to understand. We've gotten a lot of good feedback that it was really concise and good information. People could understand it. It wasn't huge and long and complicated.
So from the U.S. Chamber standpoint, dealing with economics and keeping businesses in business, are there economic forecasts of how long this is going to impact us? What are you guys talking about as a group with the U.S. Chamber?
Obviously, this has hit the economy hard. This has been an unprecedented situation. We haven't seen anything like this before. So it remains to be seen what the lasting impact is. We are hopeful, though, that that by providing these loans, we can bridge this period until we get to the other side of it, and hopefully come to a point where we where we can get our economy back to where it was, where we did have 3% growth, where we had low unemployment. It might take us a little bit to get there. There's also already talk of a 4th phase of some kind of stimulus, and from the conversations that I'm hearing, that might happen. I don't know what it will look like just yet. It might, if things are going well, but there are some pockets of the country that need a little more help, they might do more of like a selective stimulus. If we get through this, but on the demand side, we're still not where we need to be, they might do some kind of stimulus. But again, we don't really know because we're in uncharted territory right now. We are hopeful, though, that we will get through this, that we'll come out on the other end, and we'll get the economy going again.
So speaking on some of those business areas that have been impacted the hardest, have you had conversations about specific things that can be done to help those? And I'm talking travel industry, hotel industry.
Yeah, some of those industries are getting additional help. Like, for example, with the hospitality industry, usually when you have some kind of stimulus like this that happens, let's say you're, like a Hilton hotel, the stimulus would usually only help the Hilton, the Hilton main business, right? But right now, if you're a Hilton franchisee, what they're saying is every single property will be able to apply for these loans, which will be converted to grants as its own independent business. So we're keeping in mind that a lot of hotels are struggling right now. I know the airlines are struggling. There was a lot of money to help the airline industry through this bill as well. So we realize that that the hospitality industry, the travel industry has been especially hard. We're hoping that that through some of those programs that I mentioned, whether it's funding for the airlines and also dividing the hotels up, that each individual hotel can also apply for a loan, that will be helpful.
Well, I think that's all the questions we have from everybody. We do have Peter. Can you hop on the line real quick? Peter J. with the Small Business Development Center.
There we go.
There he is. Hey, Peter.
I'm with the Utah Valley University Business Resource Center, and we have the Small Business Development Center there. We do have consultants there. They're still working. We can help you prepare your applications if you need any help with them. That's what they do, is just free business consulting. They're government funded. So if you need help putting together your applications for any government programs, like with the bridge loan, you're going to have to, with the city of Utah, you're going to have pro forma statements and past financial statements, and they can help you get all that ready. You have to have 6 months pro forma. So if you need help getting financial statements or other things ready, you can talk to the Small Business Development Center. I just posted their phone number in the chat. And I mean, as the Business Resource Center, we're typically providing classes and other resources to help businesses. We're still trying to do that during this COVID-19 epidemic. We've had to shut down a lot of our classes, but we're moving more of them online. So you can go to our website, UVU Business Resource Center, and look at the events page and resources page, and we have other things to help you there. Yeah, if you need help with the app, I think the best value we have right now is if you need help with your government loan applications, that we can help you apply for those free. So just call the phone number that I posted.
Great, thanks, Peter. So, Vartan, just touching one last time on the unemployment, because we've seen record numbers of unemployment. Any recommendations that the U.S. Chamber is putting out on how to deal, help employees get through that if they're getting furloughed or getting laid off? I know a major concern as we're talking with our city administrator and some of our local police and fire chiefs and everything, that we have a lot of concern about depression and dealing with domestic violence issues that are increasing because people have to be holed up at home. Any recommendations, or what kind of information is the U.S. Chamber putting out about dealing with some of those things?
So in terms of, unemployment, we're hopeful that by offering these funds to the small businesses, that many of them will be able to rehire their employees and rehire them quickly. For those employees that don't work for small businesses, we're hoping that this very robust unemployment insurance program will also be beneficial. We think, I think what's the maximum? The SBDC representative there might be able to say what's the maximum in Utah for unemployment. I think it's like $900 a week.
Yeah, I think that's right. Based on our call yesterday, I think it's $900 a week.
The 900, and then you get the 600 on top of that. We're hoping that those resources, again, at these really, really unprecedented levels, will be able to help those difficult situations. As good as these benefits are, whether it's the loans or the unemployment insurance, at the end of the day, what all businesses want, what all small businesses, major businesses, and what all employees want is to be able to get back to work, regardless of how good these programs are. So that's what our main focus is right now. And we think that these programs are going to lead us in that direction so that we can get back to work as quickly as possible. That's our main focus right now. Yes, these programs will be a Band-Aid for now. Yes, they are good programs, but the ultimate goal is to be able to get everybody back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you joining us for the call today. Christina, do we have anything we want to share with everyone?
No, we just put out today on our social media the 3T challenge. So I know we talked about our group that we have, our takeout group. We just put out the 3T challenge that Governor Herbert issued. And so we just want to encourage everybody to get takeout 3 times a week to support those restaurants, help keep everybody open.
And then we are, like we said, we're working on a gift card program. We did put out a graphic just saying that Friday is your National Buy a Gift Card Day.
Yeah.
What do we call it? I don't know exactly.
The Great American Gift Card Purchase.
The Great American Gift Card Purchase, but that's being shared with chambers all over the country. And so we encourage people to go out and buy a gift card from any business just to help keep those businesses going. So if you are knowing you need to replace your tires in a year, well, get that gift card now. Or if you know that you're going to get an oil change in a few months, get the gift card now. Or if you know that, obviously there's all kinds of gift cards for restaurants, but think about the other types of businesses out there and what they could use. If you want to do a little staycation at one of the hotels and you're going to use it in November of later this year, then get the gift card now so that we can help those businesses that are struggling. All right, well, we appreciate everyone being on the call. Christina, any final words?
Nope, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody.
So tomorrow we have a call. It's all about everything you need to know about working from home. And we have Dave Crenshaw. He is an internationally renowned speaker. He goes and trains Fortune 500 companies all over the world, and he will be speaking to us about how to work from home, how to set up your office. He has a LinkedIn series out there where you can watch videos, but he'll be joining us as a special mini-sode for tomorrow. So look for that information. We'll be on again at noon tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we wish everyone well as we all deal with this.